Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Mindset Monday. Well, I should say welcome back. I'm happy you're here. And today feels like a special episode because yesterday we celebrated 32 years in business. July 14th, 1992, my mom and I started a venture that would create amazing experiences and unimaginable experiences, really. So, I want to talk a little bit today about lessons learned from my 27-year-old self opening our first business at Gila Root and the decades that follow. And I was reflecting on this and I woke up, yesterday so grateful for this industry and everything that it's given me and all the lessons that I've learned. I would not be the person that I am today had I not put myself in a situation that was so challenging and became so rewarding. So um, I think when I look back over the 32 years and I think about one of the absolute toughest lessons that I've learned, and I bet you guys can relate to this, it is leadership. And when I first decided to open a salon, all right, I thought to myself, I can't wait to be a leader. And there's a huge difference, and I know you guys will agree with this, between wanting to be a leader and having the courage to step up and become the leader that the business needs. So think about that for a second. There's a difference between wanting to be a leader and wanting to be a great leader and having the courage, developing the skills to step up and actually be the leader that your business needs. Um, So I want to talk about leadership for a second because that has been an ongoing journey for me over this 32 years. And I mean, I started out as a 27-year-old and I think back and I think to myself, what in God's name were you thinking? Even from a life experience perspective. Um, but one of the biggest challenges for me, and I'm going to say this has spanned over years, and it even haunts me a little bit today, but I've gotten better at it, thank God, is with respect to leadership. I think when I first opened my business, I thought that if I just led by example, people would do what I was doing. And they would just organically show up and do what I wanted them to do. So throw me a comment. Let me know if any of you have ever had this hallucination and then it's come up short. Can anybody feel me out there? Um, and if I get no response, I know you guys are lying to me this morning. So as leaders, we think, look, I just interviewed this great person. I think that, hi, Jennifer, I know you can relate, right? I mean, this is a thing. I hired this great person. We totally align and they are going to be amazing because what are they going to do? They're going to do the exact things that I want them to do. Why? Because I think that they should read my mind. Because but I didn't put clairvoyance on the job description that they had to be clairvoyant, that they had to be mind readers. But in the beginning, that's just what I thought in my naive mind is that if I hired somebody that I liked and they seemed like they had a good head on their shoulders, that they would do and watch what I was doing and then do it like that. And gosh, I came up so frustrated, so disappointed, so much of the time. And this went on for a long time. It took me a while to realize that, gosh, if I want people to do things that align with the bigger goal, the bigger vision, the mission of the company. That's something that has to be talked about, agreed on, trained. evaluate the training to see if the behaviors line up with that bigger vision, that bigger piece, right? And you guys, this is the piece that when you come here week over week, which a lot of you guys do, and one week I'm talking about job descriptions, and another week I'm talking about employee handbooks and wage policies and, all of the things. This is the why. This was the hardest lesson for me to learn. And sometimes it still smacks me in the face because I didn't do the work that I needed to do to get people on the same page as where we're going as a company so they could be successful and the company could be successful. I sometimes still forget about that. And I'm hiring hoping that they're clairvoyant. Or if you've been in business for a while, you might be hoping that your team, that based on what's going on with your team, they'll fall into step. But a lot of times, our team aren't even falling into step. That's what leadership is about, is having the courage to have the conversations. But if you don't have the job descriptions, you don't have the mission statement, you don't have the core values, you don't have the wage policies, the daily practices that create an agreement between two people that this is how I see the vision of my business. This is what we do here in order to continue to grow and elevate. And are you agreeing? Are you willing to do that with me? And if so, let's read through what those things are and let's sign here and agree to that. That's an agreement. And then after we agree, I want you to know I'm going to train you on these things and we'll evaluate these things. You'll get feedback and we'll continue to grow together. But that is not what most people do. And when I am working with, honest to God, the majority of my clients, when they come on with me, yes, they want to make more money. Yes, they want to have a higher profit. But there's so many unspoken systems that they think people should understand and show up and just do without the agreement, without the job description, without the mission statement, without agreeing to and aligning with the core values, without the employee handbook, like all the things that I've been talking about for 20 years. We still show up and get frustrated that people aren't doing what it is that we want them to do, but we haven't done the work. So there's one person we should get frustrated at, right? Who is that? Raise your hand if you know the answer. Yeah, that's us as leaders. So one of the biggest lessons and takeaways is if you're going to step into a role where you're a leader, and again, I say this almost every week, that whether you're a leader as an owner, a leader as a manager, as an educator, any kind of a leader, there's people that want to be leaders, and then there's people that have the courage to do the things that need to be done in order to have the strength to continue to grow and elevate your business. And sometimes that courage comes from just doing it, seeing how it goes. If it's a big flop, we learn from it and figure out how we want to do it differently. And if it goes great, we keep moving forward. But one thing that I've taken on through my journey as a leader, I promised myself I would do this, and maybe you've heard me say this before, is every time I have a leadership flop, which happens, I promised myself I would look in the mirror and I would say to myself, what's my piece in this? What could I have done to have had this turn out differently? Was there something not in place that should have been in place? Was there a communication that should have been had that I was turning away from because maybe it felt too hard? Maybe you guys are in that place right now that there's things going on in your business that need to be said. Maybe there are practices that need to be instituted that you don't know how to institute, or you're afraid to have the conversations. But I get the fear because I have the fear too. Um, I'm just committed to walking through the fear, even though I have it. That's the courage piece, is that I don't want to have this conversation. Like, this is going to be hard. I don't want to have this meeting. This might ruffle feathers. Okay. Is there a way that we can have it? Is there a way that I can speak that I might get a better response? And all of those things come through experience and a commitment to look at yourself in the mirror and say, could I have had a practice that was instituted that would have eliminated the situation? And if so, let me do that now. Let me learn from this lesson to become a better leader. Or did I say something that I'm not proud of, that I didn't really like, that I could have said it different to get a different result? That's another blind spot that people have, that and a lot of you guys that are jumping on here today, we've worked together, right? And we've talked about those communication blind spots that sometimes we come off in a certain way that we think is fine, but it's not fine for the person receiving information that we're delivering. Leadership has so many layers to it, guys. It is like wanting to be a leader and becoming a great leader that can move your team to the vision that you have dreamt about your whole life. Those are two different arenas to play in. And I'll say this again, and I've said it before, when you build the structures that support your leadership vision, it makes it so much easier to show up every day. It makes it easier to have the conversations that you need to have. Every single day, you probably need to have conversations to get people re-lined up to that vision, that mission, so you're all moving in the same direction. Otherwise, it's like herding cat, right? This one's off doing this thing, this one's off doing that thing, and you're sitting there frustrated. And who's the person that needs to be um, talked to? It's us. So we either walk into the space and we can love that space because we know we're all moving in the direction that feels right. Yeah, sometimes there's like a lost soul we need to, like, you know, wrangle back in. And sometimes we're the lost soul that needs to be wrangled back in. But overall, the leadership piece is the piece that when I think back over 32 years, over from a 27-year-old's mind. And I may have shared this before. I'll never forget. I'll tell one last story about leadership, and then I'm going to move on to my one of my next big lessons over these 3 decades. But I remember my 27-year-old self. I remember where I was when I made this phone call. I remember what was happening when I made this phone call. But I made this phone call to my friend Win Claybaugh, and a lot of you may know who that is. Iconic motivational speaker, uh, author, Paul Mitchell school dean, franchise owner, very good friend of mine. I mean, since I opened my business and before. So he and I used to travel prior to me opening my business and do motivational speaking across the country. So I thought because I was a motivational speaker that I should just naturally be a good leader. The two things have nothing to do with each other. It's kind of like, also, I was a good hairdresser, and I thought because I was a good hairdresser, I was going to be a good leader. The two things have nothing to do with each other. Nothing. So, but I had all of this hope and I had all of this vision, and I thought, oh my gosh. And then when the reality struck, and I looked around and I'm like, people are not doing anything I want them to do. And I remember calling Win and I said, I am at a loss. I'm so frustrated because people aren't doing what I think that they should be doing. They're just like sitting around. What is going on? We're all adults here. So I had an expectation that people would do something that I never communicated. That was my expectation. Have you ever had that expectation? And he said to me, Carrie, there are leaders and there are followers. And they both have their own strengths. Not everybody wants to be a leader, but the ones that do need to pull up their bootstraps and start leading the pack. So, what is it that you want to see have happen? And if that's what you want to see have happen, you need to create it. What is that thing you want to have happen? You need to sit down with people and get in agreement. This is what we have going on I need your agreement that this is how we're going to move forward. We need to train it, train the thing. I'm still training consultations over and over year, consultations. Yeah. And then you evaluate the training to see if people's interpretation of that training and internalization of that training is actually going to be what shows up once they're out doing the thing. Now, if you've had a business for a while, which I see on here, a lot of you guys have been in business for a while. Some of you, I think, are newer owners. It's not too late. It's not too late for those of you that have been in business for a while. There are ways to create agreements. I've been doing it for 32 years. We're creating new practices all the time. And in order for there to be full team engagement, there has to be a why, what's in it for them. There has to be a plan of action. There has to be an agreement. There has to be a training, and there has to be an evaluation. So if any of those things are missing in the way you're running your business, I just want you to say, God, let me just jot down that maybe I'm doing the training, but I'm not doing the evaluating to see if the training has stuck. I also want you guys to remember, and this was a tough one for me too, still is sometimes. We could talk to a group of 10 people, say the same thing, and 10 people are all going to leave with their own perception, internalization of what you said. They're all going to leave with a different message. Some might be same and slightly different, but everybody looks at the world through different lenses. So that's why when we can talk about it, launch it, what's in it for them, get people engaged, have an agreement, people sign off on, train the agreement, and then evaluate it and say, oh, I know you might have thought it was this certain way, but I'm going to have us pivot a little bit and try it like this. If there's not an evaluation piece, that's what we do when we're teaching people how to cut and color hair. We show them, they do it, we help them adjust however they internalize that. We have to do that with a lot of things, most things. So leadership is an ongoing process, guys. Don't get frustrated, get clear. Get clear about what you want and clarity on how you're going to train it. So, look, this is like, without that, I fear you'll be on the struggle bus for a long time. Once you get that clarity, you'll start gaining the courage to execute the plans that you know are going to move your whole company forward. All right, so that's leadership. The next big lesson for me over these last 3 decades is financial literacy. So picture this, month over month, I didn't know how to read my financials, but what did I know how to read? I knew how to read a minus sign or something in red that was telling me that we didn't quite break even. But I didn't know what all of the numbers and categories meant for years. I just was kind of in having like a religious experience that I would just pray and hope that there'd be money and that I'd have enough to keep going for the next month. And it wasn't until I made a decision, which was to become financially literate, that my business changed. That so many doors opened for me around how I wanted to run my business, how I wanted my life to look inside that business, and how to create the profitability and sustainability that was needed. I didn't even know what was needed to be sustainable, but that was needed in order for me to carry on this vision of being an owner and being a leader. So I've said this also. I know that sometimes you come on and you're like, she keeps repeating herself, but I am repeating myself that numbers tell us a story. And every number on your financials, whether it's your profit and loss or your balance sheet or your benchmarks that you read every single week, if you don't know how or what those things mean or know how to read them, I need for you to commit to yourself to do that for yourself. How to create budgets so you're proactive in getting the financials the following month. If you don't have budgets in place today to run your business to make sure you're profitable next month or by the time the month closes, I don't know how to help you, right? So every decision we make in our business, from going to the beauty supply, taking out petty cash to buy coffee for the team, whatever decisions you're making end up on your financials. So your financials basically are numbers, but it's really a report. It's like a it's like a grade report on the behaviors that I'm making. My behaviors turn into an end result, and those end results are numbers called my financials. So I get like a report on myself and how well I'm making those decisions. So, what if you went from having this mindset, which so many owners are, that I'm just not a numbers person, I'm just not into numbers? What if you changed that story? I used to say that. I don't know what all this means. This is really important to me. What if you change that and you said to yourself, I'm so excited about learning what each one of these lines mean on my financial statement so that I can make better decisions? Because if I don't want to be a technician behind the chair, if I want to have a holiday party or an anniversary party, or I want to have a profit account, whatever all those things are, you have to know how to make different decisions in different areas, and different areas are different line items in order to get something different. So I think of like our financial literacy as the roots of a tree, if you think about it. If the roots are deep, they're wide and they're deep, they can weather the storms. And when we think about storms, what am I talking about? So you guys are on here, you guys have weathered storms. So throw in the comments, what kind of financial storms have we had to deal with, or that we currently have to deal with? Come on, play with me today. What are some financial storms, summer storms, hurricanes? What kind of storms do we have to weather in order to be a sustainable company? Okay, water heaters, Brenna. Yes, I've had water heaters go out. Back bar. Yes. I mean, is anybody going to say COVID? I mean, was COVID a financial storm? Morgan Taylor Salon says walkouts. Brenna, air conditioning units being replaced, stylists leaving, training costs. Yeah. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes to COVID on every level. If you're in California, you were closed for 6 months. You want to talk about a freaking financial storm? How do you weather that storm? By being financially literate. You don't know when the next storm is going to come. I mean, you can pray it never comes, but I think that's really praying to a God that is not even here, because they're going to come. It's just the question is what level, how big, and how fast it's going to move through. Some of them last a while. Some of them take a while to build back up. But if you don't have financial literacy, I'm afraid that you are going to have a stressful time weathering some storms. Now, um, as an owner, we opened 32 years ago. And I'm going to say 15 years ago is when I stopped doing hair behind the chair. I stopped being a technician. Um, but there were many years as a technician that I had to weather storms of walkouts before the walk-ins that I couldn't take a paycheck. And I didn't know why, because I didn't know how to read my financials. I didn't know how to plan for something that was coming, because I thought it was never going to happen to me. I thought that my air conditioning unit was never going to break. I never thought that a global pandemic was going to hit and we were going to be closed for 6 months. Nobody thinks about stuff like that. We're just going in and just praying that we can pay our bills for the day. So if I could make a plea to you, it would be for you to, next time you get your financials, to go through make that part of your job description. What day do you get them? And on the following Monday or whatever, carve time out for yourself. Start learning about every decision I make creates a number on my financials. And every number tells a story about how you're running your business. Just tells a story. So if you are carving out profitability for yourself, then you're also carving out sustainability for yourself. All things lead back to those financials. All things lead back to leadership. These are the layers that I've been talking about for 20 years on here. All right, guys, my final lesson that I'll talk to you about, and I could be on here for a week talking about all the crap I've been forced to learn, is I want to touch on vision and values. And those aren't just buzzwords, vision and values, those are real things. And when I first start working with people and I ask them, do you have a mission statement and do you have core values? And they might say yes, and I'll ask what it is, and they won't know what it is because they created it when they opened and then sitting in a drawer. But our core values and our mission statement should be, and I don't like the word should very much, could be, ought to be, our very compass, the compass around how we make decisions in our business. Not emotion-based decisions. We are all very emotional beings, but fact-based decisions on who we are and who we want to be and the legacy that we want to leave. Sometimes, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but there have been times that I have been so emotional about a situation that happens that I've made emotional based decisions that were not the best decision to be made. I will wake up the next morning and be like, oh my God, what just happened? Why did I make that decision? That's not who we are. It's not who I want to be. And it's not who I want to build our company to be. And so, with your core values, that also is another layer of your compass of how you make decisions for your clients, for your team, and for your company. I would be remiss to not throw in here that another one of just the biggest lessons that I've learned is that it's people first. Your people are your people. And sometimes they might be your people for a time, for a season, or for a reason, and they're not your people for a lifetime. And that's an expectation we also have to harness, that people come and people go. And it's not easy, but it's a reality. So, again, what preparation do we have to continue to build and grow, knowing that that is the nature of our company? People first, with retention, with relationships, right? Breeds long term sustainability for all people, even the people, the staff coming in. They're going to make more money and be more sustainable by staying in one place and building off of their own legacy under your roof. So, I don't know. I hope that something that I threw out into the universe today sticks with you, right? I mean, we all have a story. I'd love to hear you guys' story. Why don't you throw in my comments? Um, what was the thing that stuck for you today? What was that one piece? Throw in that comment. And if you have any questions, I'm open to that too. But as I close out today, I want to thank you guys for joining me, for supporting me, for joining me on this journey, for showing up every week. You guys help me to stay focused. And I'll say this 1,000 times over, it takes a village. It takes a village to run this consulting company that I have. It takes a village of support for the salon businesses. And you guys are a part of that. You're a part of that. You're a part of that journey. So um, as we close out, Jennifer, so good to see you. You said all of it. I love you. Thank you so much. Derek from Salon Ivory, understanding how much financials have to do with leadership and decision making. Yeah, and you're good at that. I know you are. I know you. So job well done. You guys, I hope you have an amazing week. I'll be over here celebrating. I just can't believe that 32 years ago, my mom decided to start this crazy journey. And who would have ever thought that we'd end up here? So, life has a way, right? Stay open, keep your heart open. Brenna says the top thing, making my mission statement a priority. I made it 2 years ago and need to pull it out. Yeah, our mission statement and core values need to be a living, breathing document that we talk about, we celebrate. It's at every team meeting. Yeah, go back and watch one of my videos on mission and core values. That might re-inspire you too. So, thank you guys so much. Take a moment today to be proud of yourself. Sometimes as leaders, we're just forging forward and we're not taking a moment to just say, I feel proud today, um, and then get back to it. But I feel proud today. And yeah, it's all good. Have an amazing week. And I'll see you guys next week. And then the week after that, I'm on vacation again. Yes, I'm on vacation again. Summertime. Have an amazing week, peeps. Mwah. So much love to you. So much love to you. Bye.